Hello and welcome to Cargo Shots from the Stat Trade Times, powered by Group Concorde. Here's our pick of the best news shots that made the headlines this week.
IATA's June air cargo market analysis may give operators a reason to cheer. With a palpable tone of cautious optimism, IATA's analysis states that air cargo volumes have lifted slightly in June. IATA also says that sideways trend continues to impact the international air cargo market. But before we get into the statistics, let's delve into the second quarter revenue figures released this week. Atlas Air Worldwide Holdings reported an 18% decline in net income at $88.3 million compared with net income of around $107 million in the second quarter of 2021. Adjusted net income in the second quarter of 2022 totaled $97.3 million compared with $121.8 million in the second quarter of 2021. Revenue increased 21% to $1.2 billion in the second quarter of 2022 compared to $990.4 million in the same period of 2021. Lufthansa Cargo reported an operating profit of $492 million for the second quarter, reporting an increase of 48% compared to the second quarter of 2021 based on higher demand for freight and average yields in the air freight industry well above the pre-crisis level. Exceptionally strong momentum continues despite ongoing capacity shortages, with around 70% load originating outside Germany. Traffic revenue increased 45% to $1.23 billion. Air Canada Cargo reported a 16% drop in revenue at $233 million for the second quarter of 2022. For the first 6 months of the year, revenue increased 9% to $544 million. The decline was due to yield normalization and less cargo-only flying in the Pacific market. This was partially offset by revenue gains in other regions. Air Canada also announced a further expansion of its fleet with the acquisition of 2 factory-built Boeing 777 freighters. The long-range wide-body cargo planes are scheduled to enter service in 2024. IAG Cargo, the cargo division of the International Airlines Group, reported revenue of $419 million for the second quarter of 2022. The Q2 results take IAG Cargo's half-year revenue to around $860 million, up by almost 10% compared to the first half of 2021. IAG Cargo's tonnage for the period was up by almost 5%, while overall yield saw a reduction of 2% at constant currency versus the same period in 2021, despite the return of passenger-led capacity. Nasdaq-listed Air Transport Services Group, or ATSG for short, reported a 24% increase in revenue to $510 million for the second quarter of 2022 on continued strength in freighter leasing. Earnings, however, dropped 33% to $54 million from $80 million in the second quarter of 2021. That included $38 million pre-tax in government grants representing pandemic relief for ATSG's passenger airline and $30 million in incremental pre-tax gains primarily related to warrant revaluations. Now let's take a look at the other newsmakers of the week. Nasdaq-listed Atlas Air Worldwide entered into a definitive agreement to be acquired by an investor group led by funds managed by affiliates of Apollo, together with investment affiliates of JF Lehman & Company and Hill City Capital. The all-cash transaction has an enterprise valuation of approximately $5.2 billion. Atlas Air Worldwide shareholders will receive $102.5 per share in cash, representing a 57% premium to the 30-day volume-weighted average trading price of common stock as of July 29, 2021. Upon completion of the transaction, Atlas Air Worldwide will become a privately held company, and shares of Atlas Air Worldwide common stock will no longer be listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. Atlas Air Worldwide will continue operating under the Atlas Air Worldwide name. Kuwait-based Agility has finalized the acquisition of UK-based John Menzies plc and will be combining the business with its subsidiary National Aviation Services, or NAS for short. Once integrated, the combined company will operate as Menzies Aviation and will be the world's largest aviation services company by number of countries and second largest by number of airports served. The boards of Agility and Menzies had reached an agreement on March 30th this year on Agility's cash offer to acquire 100% of Menzies ordinary shares for 608 pence a share. The deal values Menzies at approximately $670 million on a fully diluted basis and approximately $931 million on an enterprise value basis. The Pitsburgh International Airport's cargo infrastructure got a boost last week when federal officials announced a grant to help lengthen a key taxiway used by cargo planes at the airport. The July 26th announcement is the latest win for the region in increasing PIT's capacity to handle cargo from around the world. The FAA awarded the $3.26 million grant to extend Taxiway A, which will be used to access the new Cargo 4 facility expected to open in 2024. The grant covers 75% of the expected cost, projected at $4.3 million. Let's get back to those IATA numbers. According to IATA, the recent declines in seasonally adjusted air cargo volumes paused in May and showed a solid 0.7% month-on-month gain in June. The association, however, cautioned that despite the optimistic figures, it is too soon to call it a recovery. And that's a wrap for this week's episode. This is your host Manjula Nair signing off and wishing you a great weekend ahead.
For the latest news on air freight, visit our website. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our weekly newsletter. Give our YouTube channel a visit and subscribe to access our past webinars and virtual conferences and access exclusive one-on-one interviews with global logistics leaders. Thank you for tuning in to Cargo Shots by the Strat Times, powered by Group Concorde. See you next week with a fresh roundup of cargo news makers.